Thank you. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know. I was a little slow.
That's right. Call the order, please.
Mr. Benton?
Here.
Mrs. Boer? Here. Mrs. Davis? Here. Mrs. Thomas? Here. Mr. Swagger?
Here. Do we have sign-ups? And to address us, I have signed up for the Longwell family. Oh, well, it's up to you if you want to. Yeah. If you'd like to address us, you don't necessarily have to, but you're certainly welcome to. Yep, right here at the microphone there, if you can make sure it's turned on.
Hi, is it turned on?
Yep.
My name is Connie Ryan. My sister Terry Fetters. Our grandfather was born and raised in the Longwell property, which is out on 62. It was the heir that actually got the property was General Perry Miles. General Miles died in 1961, and it was originally 171 acres with a house, and it's on 62, and the back of it is on Nichols Lane. So it has sat vacant for 60 plus years. And then all of a sudden the Attorney General has decided what's going on with this property. So he got a hold of the trustees. Bob Doughton, who's a local lawyer, had it until he passed. And then the will, it is donated to the village of Johnstown and Liberty Township. So, and all that acreage with the house, and it is for the betterment of the community, education, recreation, whatever the community feels necessary. It has sat vacant for so long that once the Attorney General stepped in, then all of a sudden the Liberty Township trustees, who the president is this Roger Smith, seems like a nice guy. I don't know him that well. Terry does. They kind of lit a fire under him saying something needs to be done. So he decides apparently to wash his hands of it and said, he called Licking County Parks and said, we'll just give it to you.
Along with the money that's in the account, which is quite sizable.
It still has in trust, in brokerage, and different, the pot is almost $1 million that has been sitting there all these years. Plus that 100 and some acre. Well,
167 is what the last was, but it was originally 171.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, we have all of this time tried to get the family Bible out of the house. Some of the family pictures we have been denied all these years. And last year, and Mom was the last surviving person, and last year she passed. And it was very upsetting to us that her entire life she didn't get to go out and get family pictures. I mean, the whole thing has been handled very badly. And now they're trying to give that whole property away. Our reason for being here is we are going to step in. We don't know what we're going to do, but we need to do something because his wishes were to donate it to Johnstown. That's the family. And so we want to keep it in Johnstown. We've got some people that are saying we can do some parks out there. We can do some walking trails. There's $1 million in the pot. I don't know why things have not been, somebody had to step in and do it. So anyway, we would like the support, or at least you acknowledge the fact that this is a problem. We could use help, if nothing else. We've talked to some people, and they suggest that we go to the school board, the village council, the Monroe Township trustees, and write letters, or we'll write the letter and have people sign it. we're just needing help, and we want you aware that there's a situation, and it could benefit you in that it's donated to the village. If you want to put a new school out there, it's free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Village of Johnstown. So
It is outside the city limits, but he wanted a museum out there in honor of him because he was a 5-star general. The house is pretty much needs to be torn down. And they've sold all of his belongings in the auction. So we just want to keep the rest of it here.
that's
So-
where we are.
Yeah, so we've talked to the village, we've talked to Teresa Monroe, we've talked to Sean Stainer,
Chip
we've
Dutcher,
talked to Chip Dutcher.
Troy Hendren.
Yeah, so we're just.
We've gone to
coming
the
you
lawyer.
guys.
We're trying to do what we can do. And
Yeah.
like we said, our grandfather was born and raised there, but then when you're in the will, apparently if you pass, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
When he passed, he didn't get anything.
Yeah.
So we have nothing in this,
No.
nothing financially to gain from it. In fact, we're hoping not to have to pay a lawyer because it's going to come out of our pockets, you know. But if you can help in any way, we'd appreciate it.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Wagner, if you would, if we can just confer with the city of Johnstown, what their
Okay.
wishes, what the direction they're going with the Monroe Township trustees.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're all three on the same page as a group,
Okay.
and work towards a support of some measure.
Okay, so I'll follow up with Chip Dutcher and get back to the
Do you
board.
want the school board to write a letter independently? Because I know that the city council was doing the same thing.
That's what I was saying. If
Are we going to do something is the question while we got the board here. Are we going to join or are we waiting for the council to do it? Time is of the essence. Am I not right?
I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought we at the last meeting we were going to write a letter.
Kevin, can you come and speak, Kevin?
Keith,
Keith, I'm sorry.
Were we not?
Kevin will work.
Yeah, Kevin Keith. I called Ann and Amanda earlier today, so I'm on a roll.
We're going to start using name tags.
Yeah, as far as the Miles estate, I've been talking to Terry and Connie quite a bit about the property in Teresa Monroe. Got the latest documents. I've been calling the probate court to find out exactly what's going on, when they were going to file a petition. I talked to Roger Smith as well, and he had told me that they were planning on it. Ruth Ann has the paperwork that was submitted on the 4th. Basically, their intent to give it to the Licking Park District to sell 4 acres to LRE for $100,000. They're stating there's about $850,000 in the account, and they're going to use the funds to give to Licking County Foundation. All the money would go there, and the funds would be distributed through them. Part of it would be scholarship, and part of it would to help the Licking Parks. But as the Joint Park Rec District, I mean, we're certainly supporting them and their efforts, and hoping that we are the entity that, like they said, they don't really have anything in it. They're not looking to get it. They want to keep it in the community, and I think that's really where it falls on our shoulders as the Greater Johnstown Parks and Rec District, that we step up and help them and support and say that we are here. We've got our paperwork all together. We're a solid entity. We got registered with Secretary of State, everything. So we're complete. We can handle a property like this, and we certainly would love to have the opportunity. I'm not sure that the probate court right now knows we exist, and that there's other options, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here is to let them know that the Licking Park District doesn't really fall in line with his wishes, and leaving it to Johnstown, primarily Liberty Township, and for us to develop that area seems to be a better fit.
Keith, my question:
Yes.
the Licking County Metro, is that who they're talking about giving?
No,
it
it's
to?
a Licking Park District. Now
Okay.
they're a 501c3, so they're not really affiliated with the county, but they service all the parks, and they do passive recreation. They're not really involved in any ball fields or sporting or any type of activity. It's mostly walking trails is what you're looking for with them. And I've talked to them as well, Richard Wall, and
That's what I was
And,
going to ask you. What is their intention, or do they know? Have they indicated why or what they want with it?
They'll tell you flat out that it was offered to them. They weren't looking for it, and
Okay.
they're not going to turn it down.
Okay, that's why I was curious.
Yeah,
They weren't
basically,
seeking it out.
now they,
Okay.
they have, yeah, they're definitely going to take it. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Because they said,
If
you
they
know,
want to
they-
give me 167 acres,
yeah,
I'll take it as
the
well.
the trustees approached them, like Connie had said, approached them and said, "Do you want this?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll take it." So that's pretty much where that's been. But they've stated that they have interest in working with us, but nothing's in writing. And again, we just don't. We want to be in front of them, let people know there is an options, that there are options here available, and hopefully the probate judge will at least have something in writing that whether in part or all, but that we get something. You know what I mean? But I'm not sure. I mean, that's kind of out of our hands. But yeah, with public support, their support, our support, we're just really trying to get different things put together. And as far as the letter, I was hoping when I talked to you guys about a letter support, I've been talking to Teresa Monroe, but she's been extremely busy being clerk of council. And I talked to her again this week, and we're going to try to get a letter. We want to get a consistent letter that everybody can sign versus everybody writing their own letter.
Has the local Parks and Recs, our organization here in Johnstown, have you made your feelings known to the Attorney General's office?
Not to the Attorney General's office or the probate court, for that matter. They're aware of us. They called Teresa Monroe. It wasn't Liza Dietrich. It was the other lady from the probate or from the Attorney General, and she asked for our membership and who we were. So somewhere, somehow, they know that we exist. The Attorney General, and Teresa Monroe gave her the list of all the members.
Was there a reason that you all decided not to contact the Attorney General's office directly?
Really, we wanted to get established first. I mean, this has come on our plate, kind of like Intel's come on your plate. We just got started. We needed to be a solid entity. We needed to get our bylaws. We needed to get our ENI or ENN. We had to get all that established first before we could go forward with that. We can certainly reach out to them now. We finally just got that put together probably 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I thought you were farther along than that. So.
Not with all the. We're set now. We've got our nonprofit status and everything like that's all set. So the paperwork was set up for us to form, but then it was a matter for us to get everything else put together.
How would we develop a comprehensive plan to go forward? Because it seems like we have different parts that are working on this. How do we come together and create a plan? Because everything's moving very quickly, right?
It is.
And if we don't move very quickly and get us all together,
right,
it's going to be too late, right? So we can
Understood.
talk to people. How would we do that? What
That'd be my question too.
You mean
and
a
that's why
comprehensive
if Dr.
plan as
Wagner,
far as what to do with the property, or what?
how to approach the entities? Because the probate court's going to make a decision based on whatever they know, right?
Well-
and how do we get it together a plan to actually make a comprehensive, presentation
No,
to them so
I
that
know
they
exactly.
really understand all the nuances of what's going on here? Because sometimes when you're in probate and you have probate court, they don't really understand all the nuances, all the little things that are going on. They're hearing one side of what's being presented to them. And how do we get our voice out in front as a community?
Well, that's what we're working with the family, because they're meeting with the attorney tomorrow, and we felt as our group that it made more sense to support the family and their efforts and combine with them to get the message out there. And again, talk to the attorneys and ask them what do they need and what do we need to do in order to get in front of the probate court and the attorney general, so we're not just throwing paperwork out there. Susan, we've talked to, Serena, who's in our group, and she's kind of stated the same thing. We need to get some more, and she doesn't deal with probate, you know what I mean? Even though she's an attorney, she doesn't deal with that. So we just need more professional opinion in regards to the probate. We do have a little bit of time. It's not like we have to do it this week. We do have a little bit of time. The Liberty Township has filed a lawsuit against them for the sale of property. So nothing's happening like this week. We have a little bit of time, but I'm in communication with them, and we're going to support them. We feel like that's their voice going to the probate court saying we're the family. We're not happy with what what's going on. We don't really want anything, but we want to stay in Johnstown, and here's a group that can run it.
Keith, I think it'd be important to make
Yeah.
sure that the township, the school board, and the city of Johnstown are all on the same page, though, as to what group we're asking for. Are we
Understood
all? I don't think it makes sense for us to say either or. As you know, the city has their parks
Right.
department. You obviously, the schools and the city
Mhm.
together have the joint parks. My preference would be
I've
the joint
talked
parks.
to the
but-
city, and they're going to give us an endorsement
For the
Jack
joint
Leggett, Sean,
parks?
For the joint parks, yes.
Okay, I just
It-
want to make sure we're all on the same page, because I
No.
don't think it helps us if we're divided, even how we're trying to go in there. If we're doing letters of support, they all should
Right.
be for one entity.
One entity, and we've talked about that as well, that we don't want to all be pulling at the same property, because then nobody's going to get it if we all want a piece. So yes, we have to go collectively, and with their efforts, and just try to make sure, because they're not looking to manage the property or get the property. And the city has told me and our group that that's why we were formed, was for this particular.
No, it fits
These type of
perfectly
properties.
into it, and,
Yeah.
and the oversight, the board that we have for the joint parks,
Absolutely.
the city appoints two, we appoint two, and then we jointly appoint the fifth. So
Correct. Yeah.
it would certainly behoove us to make sure we're all pulling in the same direction.
Well, and
I don't think it's a shock to anybody that the city and the schools could certainly use more recreational space.
absolutely, yeah, and everybody, and it just so happens that 3 of our board members live in Liberty Township as well, so that doesn't hurt our case with talking to their trustees. And I did talk to Bill 2 days ago, so I think I can get their letter of support as well.
I appreciate it. I think,
Yeah.
Dr. Wagner,
Yeah, I
if you
was
can
going to
just
say, do you mind?
Yeah.
Who's actually are you coordinating then
Yeah.
primarily? Okay.
Yes.
So we need to get together, and
Yeah.
we have to get this organized.
Right.
Who's this attorney, Richard Heath? Like, who's hiring Richard Heath as the
That
attorney
would be
for-
Roger Smith, and he's the trustee of the Miles Estate. He's their
Okay.
attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not that I'm an attorney, we want to talk about it today, but when we meet relatively soon, I'd like to know, you said legal counsel, I'd like to know where you are with that, if you actually sought legal counsel and are represented, because we can discuss that.
Yeah,
as well, too.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going to keep working together and talking, and whatever information.
okay.
Try to get it pulled together between their support as family members and us as.
Well, Keith, I'll follow up.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for the start school, but I'll
Yeah.
follow up with you sometime this week.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
because I'm a little bit concerned about the urgency with this when I see I know you're saying that, it's not
We've
the
got a
fast
week or
track,
two.
but
Yeah.
you already have an order. Mrs. Board has
Yeah.
shared this with me. So there's an order here, it looks like.
Yeah.
Or at least an application for an order. So
Correct.
I think sooner rather than later. I'll try to get something together this week so we can start to coordinate. And then Mr. Schwager will work with the city as well, too.
sounds great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Has anyone looked at the minutes of the meeting where they decided all these issues? Because my understanding is there should be minutes of meetings where you decide, there should be votes that are cast if you have a board of trustees. I believe the mayor of Johnstown is on the board,
Absolutely.
and I don't think he would have been aware of what's going on here. So, yeah, because we went through the parks, I was the parks and rep years ago to set that up. And we talked about the Miles Estate, and we talked to the mayor because we met with the city of Johnstown, right? And they said that the mayor hasn't participated within that group for many years. So I would look at, there should be some documentation on how this all came about.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that someone look at that documentation, see if it exists. It should exist,
Right.
right?
Well, and Liberty Township has the same feeling. When I talked to Bill Siegel, he was basically told that they had appointed Lois as their permanent trustee, and things like that was never voted on or anything like that. So, yeah, in regards to their meetings and how they operate, I think there's a lot of questions to be raised about that as well. Yeah.
But that usually can be an
Yeah.
issue when you're talking about issues like that,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So as you talk to your attorney, you might want to, relay those concerns to that attorney.
Thank you.
I'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
In the township. Right.
If you don't announce your meetings,
Yes.
you can't go.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You
You have to have a
attend if
record
you
of
don't know when the
everything.
meeting is.
So
The issue will be is you have to get an attorney to fight those.
yes.
Those are the issues there. So,
But-
okay. I was saying the issue with them failing to hold meetings and minutes and stuff. Well, that's a valid one. You typically have to get yourself an attorney to fight those types of things. I mean, that's, right. Yeah.
I think that's a good discussion.
Yeah, I think that's a good discussion
With
that
the
we can
town.
continue with the town and
That's
the
where we
township.
go from here as interested parties. How can we coalesce, decide how we can get an attorney and what that purpose would be? What the focus is on our, because we won't know when their meetings are. We've never been informed for sure. And I understand Chip didn't know either, so he couldn't attend. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. On to you, Kim.
Couple of annual things that we always have to do, one of which is IDEA, which is our special education federal funding. Every year we have to have a public hearing disclosing what we're spending that money on. For the 22-23 year, we've been awarded $339,223.60, which is an increase of about 2.6% over the previous year. We always spend that money on salaries for our intervention specialists and our special education coordinator to provide those services and to offset our general fund providing those services. So does anybody have any questions regarding that very brief hearing?
I do not. Thank
Great,
you.
Thank you. So then we have one set of minutes from July 5th, the June Treasurer's Report, which you should all have, and then we have several transfers. The first two are ones that we do annually. The first is from food service into unclaimed funds, and what that is like seniors who have graduated and still have a balance, or students who have withdrawn from the district and still have a balance, goes into this fund. Those students or their parents can request that money back from us, but we have to hold it in a separate fund because it does not belong to the district right now. The next one is our budget stabilization transfer. We do this annually in accordance with Resolution 05037 to keep 5% of our general fund revenues in reserve for our rainy day fund. The other three transfers are all related to the split between Johnstown Elementary and Johnstown Intermediate. Our classroom fees, our principals fund, and book fair fund have all supported one building. We are splitting these based on a 1/3, 2/3 split since 2 grades are leaving the elementary. That's 1/3 of the population, so 1/3 of the balance is going to be transferred into a new fund that is going to support Johnstown Intermediate, and the rest will remain with Johnstown Elementary. We also have 2 donations on the agenda, one for classroom supplies for Mrs. Nesselred's classroom, and one from the athletic boosters that is the monetary donation for the Amy Bullard Scholarship, which should be awarded next year.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? I have a question on the principal's funds. So I see there's a large discrepancy, dollar amount between the ones. How are those funded? What makes those up, and why do we have, Mr. Busenberg's fund is considerably smaller than the other 2 principals. How does that occur, and what?
The PTO is the primary donor to the elementary fund.
So that's why theirs is so much
Yes.
larger. Okay.
Yes. School portraits, the commission from those is what funds that, and also vending machine sales, we get a commission off of that. That's what funds each individual building.
So the middle school is considered. I'm just curious. How does the middle school get so much more than the high school? What's drawing in the money for the middle school versus the high school?
She doesn't spend it.
They just drink more.
They drink more pop.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I'm just, when I see the large discrepancies here, I was like, what's drawing the money in at the middle school that the high school's not drawing into? And then what are the parameters of the spending of those funds?
It's principal's discretion within board policy.
Okay. So we don't know why the middle school fund is considerably larger. Is it just
It just
Why
doesn't.
don't we, we'll look
Check
into
the
that for you.
sources
Yeah,
of
we'll
that.
get back, because there's an expenditure aspect, but there's also a revenue aspect, so we'll look at
Yeah.
both parts of that. Typically, high schools do generate less, just the way it works, because you don't have as much of a PTO or a PTA presence, but it depends on how it's funded. Sometimes it'll be through Coke, Pepsi,
Sure.
other
I can
forms.
answer that question. Sorry, it just came to me. The like when they did the candy bar sales for the Washington D.C. trip,
Okay.
it's split 25% into the principal's fund and the other 75% to the Washington D.C. trip.
Sounds
Gotta
like you
get you some
better
candy
get a
bars.
field trip. No.
Eat more candy.
Just took me a minute. Sorry about
That's
that.
right. 100-0 split, and you guys are going
Start
nowhere.
not charging on the vending machine.
All right.
That's something, Mrs. Pulley, let's put that on our notes as a follow-up. We'll look at revenue.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have,
it
and
makes
the
sense.
principal's got
Yeah.
reasonably close discretion on what they can give and get, and
Yeah.
that we're not out of line there.
Well, and it's a good point. When you split off a building like what you did too, that's an interesting, how you divvy those monies up.
Yeah, and that's what got me looking
Yeah.
into it. Is when we
Yeah.
divvied that up, I was like, how did you decide? So you did the 1/3, 2/3 would make sense. So okay, that's the only question I had. Anyone else?
Just like to thank Ireland's Boutique and also thank everyone for donating to establish the Amy Bullard Scholarship Fund.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Nice
Yes.
large amount there. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone's hard work on getting that straight.
How will that be allocated into, is it from the 10,000? Is that an annual thing? And do you split that up? How is that, what's the desire on that one? You don't give 10,000 in 1 year, so you give, has that been broken out? Okay,
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Benton,
Yes.
Mrs. Boer,
Yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Swager.
Yes, motion carries. Dr. Wagner?
So I'm at day 5 today. Everything's going well. I thought I would go through and give the board some updates. So I want to again thank the board for this opportunity. It's been tremendous, and we've had some time for transition. Also want to thank Dale Dixon because he did a nice job prepping for this, and we spent this last week together, most of last week together. Debbie Siegel's been very helpful, and other staff as well. Obviously, we're focused on opening for the new school year. So as a reminder, our first day for students is Thursday, August 18th. Our first day for staff, I'm kind of working backwards here, is on Monday, August 15th. And then there's 3 days there that staff will be working. So they'll be preparing for students. We have convocation, and we also have training for Power School. So that's up and running, and Debbie's been very involved with that. New teacher orientation is this Friday, so Janet Smith, Dr. Smith's done a nice job getting that organized, and I'll be participating in that. Some regional meetings that I'm involved with. This week there's an Intel-based meeting. It's actually hosted by Columbus State, and it's preparing students for new opportunities, and actually got a call and honored that I'll be a part of the panel with that discussion. So that's kind of a nice honor. We're being recognized for that. Some other things this week, we have an insurance committee meeting. Mrs. Boer will be there, I'm sure others. And then I'm part of the Buckeye Association of School Administrators on the executive committee, so I have a meeting with that tomorrow. Other than that, a lot of focus on Johnstown Intermediate School. Dave Jenny's been invaluable with that, keeping us updated. I think there's multiples of him, and he just acts like one person. But I've seen that movie with Michael Keaton of Multiplicity, and I kind of think that maybe Dave's of that mindset there, that because he does so much and does so well. Debbie Seibel, as I said, been working with Power School, does a nice job. There was a meeting last week, Licking County hosted with Intel. A lot of discussion with them. They're looking actually to support the schools, and hard to get in touch with them now because there's so much going on, but we're having some discussion about how to support. And if you haven't heard already, they're doing some sponsorship of the Hartford Fair, so that's definitely positive. Some of the other things we're working on, Jersey Township, there'll be a meeting this week. I think Mrs. Boer might join me for that. Tentatively, it looks to be August 11th at 11 a.m., but that's not finalized yet. we've been able to form a collaborative with 3 school districts that are impacted, and this is about a TIF that Judy Township's looking at. There's also an aspect of that regarding water and sewer and multifamily housing that we're concerned about. So we have formed a partnership with Licking Heights and Northridge, so the 3 districts are working on that and sharing legal counsel, so the board will hear more about that. I have a parent letter forthcoming. All the building principals have been able to give me some information. So we have the release of when they'll be able to access for Power School and all too. So there's be a little bit of difference. Some buildings will be on the 12th as early as the 12th and some of the 15th. I'll explain that. Watching enrollment, and I'll have more information for that in the future. It looks like our enrollment is down a bit. It's a little hard, and it was my experience in my last district, the same thing. It's a little hard to judge enrollment now because you don't always have all the new families in. It's a busy time. People feel the urgency because school's starting soon. And then also we don't have all the withdrawals yet. I know we don't have the same kind of movement in this district I did in my past, but there'll be some. So I'm watching that. Generally, it looks like enrollment's down a bit, which isn't surprising. We were talking earlier. So, we will see. I had General Mills Will on here, but we've already discussed that. And then, Mr. Swager, at some point we should talk about our next session, which is the work session on August 22nd, getting ready with that. I'd like to talk to you and see, I'm not sure if this is the best venue for that type of meeting. It'd be nice to be able to have a true work session where we can write and, this is very formal, like we need it, but I want to talk to you about that at some point. And that's really a high-level overview, but a lot of it being conducted here in 5 days, and it's going well.
Sounds great. I appreciate that. I did want to ask Dr. Wagner if the city school liaison meeting, if we could talk to them about getting that set up again. It's been back and forth, and it just never got scheduled that I know of. They sent a date.
It's in there. They just haven't called it yet.
Okay.
Because the other issues they're addressing should be soon.
Okay. Because we've got several issues that we probably need to meet with them and just make sure we're all on the same page.
Do you want me to follow up on that?
If you don't mind, with
Chip?
Chip and Marvin, or no, Chip and Doug Lehner. Doug Lehner's the other appointee from council on that. Marvin came the last one, but Doug,
So Marvin's not the chairman of that group?
or is it Marvin and Doug?
Marvin's the
Marvin
chairman.
and Doug.
Yeah.
Marvin Block and Doug Lehner are the two for city. And we, as you know, there's a couple zoning changes. They've got the potential multifamily in Leafydale. They got the app in for the Redwood ones up on 62. Those are the issues we'd like to make sure we're staying on top of.
Okay. Get that done too. So that's all I have unless there's questions.
Good to go. We can go into your recommendations.
Okay. We're ready for the first one? Yep. Okay. Do you want me to read it? Or?
Yeah, sure.
So the first resolution, the recommendation is to appoint the following person to the Johnstown Joint Recreational District Board of Trustees for the terms as listed in accordance with the Village of Johnstown, Johnstown-Monroe Local School District Agreement, and bylaws adopted on March 8, 2021. That's Mr. Keith Ryan, and that's for a 2-year term. And you heard from Mr. Ryan already. I did check with the city, and they're very happy with that relationship and what Mr. Ryan has done to represent both sides.
Excellent. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Hey, Keith, we appreciate it. I think everyone remembers when we set this up, one person, Keith, got a 1 year, and Ed Baldwin got the 2 year. And now that way they're on opposing years as we move forward. So this is to appoint Keith to a 2-year term. Any questions?
Thanks
Comments?
for continuing, Keith. Right?
Thank you.
It's a thankless job, right? Yeah, lots of good thanks.
And we're going to
So
get you
much.
done in time. You can go watch the varsity soccer game. All right. Can we call the roll, please?
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes, motion carries. Thanks again, Keith. Appreciate it.
And please don't leave till you check. I want to check your phone number because we are having difficulty communicating. Got it.
Okay, we can move on. Thank you.
Ready for personnel?
Yep.
Okay, the first one is to accept the resignation of Heidi Holbrook, middle school instructional paraprofessional, effective July 8th, 2022. you want me to just go through and
Sure.
read these? Okay.
Yep.
Accept the resignation of Carrie Harold, food service, effective July 18th, 2022. Um, and then next we have certified position, which is Daniel Reggio, sorry, who are intermediate intervention specialist, and I believe Dr. Smith, are you going to introduce her, or however you want to handle this?
Well, I don't think Danielle is a stranger to too many people, and we are thrilled to have her. She completes the JIS staff. She will be our 5th grade intervention specialist. She began her relationship with us professionally at Sierra Foss a number of years ago. Went back to school to finish her degree and has been working at Eagle Wings. So comes to us with a lot of experience of students this age that have special needs. And she's been a friend to many and a mom that we've dealt with as her children have gone through the district. So we are thrilled to have her here with us. You want to say something?
I am so excited to be back in Johnstown and to get to stay in Johnstown and just have this experience to grow and learn.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Next, we have classified positions. So we have Laura Brockway, elementary student attendant, Cecil Howell, middle school student attendant, and Corey Spadaro, maintenance technician. I don't believe any of them are here, right? Okay. And then we have a pupil activity position, and that is Mike Justice for softball, varsity head coach. And then also Sarah Kelly for 7th grade middle school volleyball. And those are all the personnel recommendations right now.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Questions, comments? Good.
The only question I have is, all our positions filled? I know we were having problems here filling the last couple of positions. We still have some openings.
Yeah, we have one paraprofessional position that's open. They were working on that today, and I know there was an interview too. I don't know the outcome of
Okay,
that yet.
so we still have candidates.
We're
That's great.
close. Yeah, but it's been challenging. You know, the environments when we're not atypical. It's just, and then Max and food service has some positions open. We've been in contact with CVS for the transportation, and they believe they're going to be fully staffed. They're doing their dry runs right now. And then Dave and Debbie and I were talking, and some challenges with custodial as well too, but working through that with Harvard. But again, these are fairly typical situations in most organizations, including schools. The last paraprofessional is the one that's most concerning to me of everything. Not that they're all not important, but that's a position that is important to a student and the child's success. We're actually just, we're working on plan A, B, C, D. So, I mean, we have contingency plans built. So if we can't find someone, we're going to have to pull from another area. It's not ideal, but we will make sure it's covered. What I'd like to do is be able to make sure that we have someone permanently for these positions. And then our next step is cross training and making sure somebody will get sick or there's professional development. So we're working on all that now.
That's great. You know, and like I said, the community, thank you for coming forward and helping us. I know people have a lot of other opportunities out there, but the school does have needs, and we appreciate everyone's support.
I think one of it too is about getting the information out. So in my parent letter, I'll be still encouraging people to apply, because these can be nice jobs for people with children in school sometimes, and can meet a schedule that doesn't interfere with their family as well too. It's a good place to work, obviously. So.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes, motion carries. Any committee reports? I don't think we had any.
No.
And under new business,
All the letters are out on the school.
yes,
I
the
saw
buildings
the
are
letters
all lettered and look fantastic. I called Miss Boer the other day. I was at the soccer game, and like 10 people came up to me and said, "Have those names always been on the building?" And I said, "No, they have not." So people are noticing them, whether or not they, most of them think they were already there and they've just now seen it. But I think it looks fantastic. They blend in nicely, and that's what I like about them. You can read them, you can see them, but they're not too obtrusive. Yes. At this time, do we have any discussion we want to have on the athletics?
No, but I do want to request an executive session.
Okay. We have a request for an executive session for discussion of personnel. If I can get a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
And
I'll second.
Ruth Ann will second. And going into executive session, what do we got there? 5:43. Any action expected afterward? No action afterwards. Thank you.
Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.